Hello, not a bomb. Oh, gee, I frightened Franklins that frightened the kudu. I'm sorry, Mr. Kudu. Hi, everybody. My name is Mark. I'm sorry that I jumped out like that. And it seems I didn't only frighten a few things out here. Maybe I changed things. But welcome to our PM safari this afternoon. Brian is on camera with me and Andrew in final control. Beautiful afternoon. It's a really hot afternoon again after a little bit of a cold front that must have come through and has been warming up considerably during the day. We've been following two kudu bulls until we went live. We've been here for a few minutes now. We're just on the western side of Gowrie Dam. And a lot of things to tell you about these kudu. I want to try and find them again. I don't know what happened there. I went hello and Franklin flew and kudu just bolted. Did you see that?
I did.
I don't know if the camera caught it though, but because you were sort of concentrating on me starting up, and then we were going to zoom into the kudu behind me, who was conveniently browsing peacefully just in front of us. And so I just want to prove that there were kudu here. Well, I don't want to go too deep into, because if I go into this thicket too much, make a noise, it's probably just going to chase them further. Or they might have just moved so far in that I can't find them anymore. Which I think is the case. So we go back to the road. The thing is, these are two of the boys that we've seen for a while now. They're two kudu bulls that are part of a bachelor herd that have been around here for a fair amount of time. Ah, there's one. There are two. Both of them are there. All they have to do is just turn left instead of right. But why it's important to me is because I'm finding a strange phenomenon. But I don't know if I can call it that since I'm only observing two incidents. But we have this group of kudu bulls here at Djuma Game Reserve. This is Djuma Game Reserve in South Africa. We're part of the Greater Kruger National Park. And welcome to any of you who are coming on our drive this afternoon for the first time. This is live safari. The closest thing you'll get to sitting on a Land Rover. Anyways, they're moving quite deeper in, but they're moving into the bushes opening up. We've had a bachelor group of kudu here, and it's been characterized by the fact that one of the kudu bulls has a very, very broad V-shaped spread to his horns. One of them has a very, very tight spiral to his horns. One of them has a much narrower spread to his horns. And then there have been two other youngsters, and then we've even seen actually a sixth one joining them for a while. But it looks like maybe the boys are splitting up, because it could be that it's going into maybe an estrus cycle for females. And so when that does happen, these boys, although they've been friendly for a long time and they stick together, there is always going to be conflict when it comes to females. Yes. End of the dry season, or rather, sorry, towards the end of the wet season. Apologies. Grasses will be dry, and as long as I stay on the grasses, I'm not doing too much, or having too much of an impact, following them a little bit. We are approaching Twin Dam Road, and it might be an idea to just wait for them down there. Just slowly make our way with them. Interesting developments here at Djuma. If you missed our morning drive, and obviously with time constraints, or rather time differences between our continents. Some of you are unable to watch the morning, as some people are unable to watch the afternoon drives. So just a fill-in from this morning, we were very lucky to have encountered the Nkuhumas very close to camp. In fact, they are just northeast of camp. I've no doubt that being a relatively hot day and quite sunny, that they're not going to be moving very far, and we're going to go and look for them shortly, just to make sure that they are where they are, so that we can be aware where they might start walking later on. Here's a very nice view of this beautiful bull. The sun glinting off of his horns. We've been very lucky that we see these kudu on a fairly regular basis. They haven't moved very far, although by the appearance of things, they've lost a couple of bulls. Well, more than a couple, 2 couples. There were 6 of them. The younger boys have left, and there were other 2. To see who may be mates. They're so unevenly matched. He's got that wide spread, he's got a narrow spread. When it comes to horn clashing, it will be a very, very interesting experience. I really should have taken photos of those bulls I saw at home, because I was almost convinced that they were the same bulls that we had here. But they couldn't have gone all the way to the Timbavati to my place and then come all the way back here. That would be just too out there. Welcome to Wild Earth, everybody. It's not only about big, hairy things with teeth and claws. We've got all sorts of things to show you here at Djuma Game Reserve, and let's see what's the next thing around the corner. Boys, they're still amongst the worry. I hope we catch up with you tomorrow morning, so we can carry on with the lives of our bachelor kudu. Where should we go? Hot day like today, I think let's start with Treehouse Dam. I was going to start at... Oh, I've just seen a tree frog.
Which tree am I looking at?
The one off of our bumper. I'm getting as close as I can to it.
There we go.
There we go. I felt it, so it's hard to explain how I found a camouflaged tree frog while I'm driving by. I found a camouflaged tree frog while I'm driving by, especially with half of its face in the shade. And I'm sure this is a big move, so I can get you almost next to it, okay? An only tree frog here in Djuma, or in the Kruger. We get reed frogs and things, but it's the only tree frog that we get. Wind's blowing leaves over its face. Ordinarily at this time of the day and in this time of the year, when there hasn't been time, they'll be very, very pale, almost white. But it's obviously going to be standing out if it was white, so it's taken on a more camouflaged appearance. And they're not quite like chameleons in that they can change color and change the way chameleons can change, but they do have the ability to change the color of the pigment of their skin. And they're able to remain dormant like this for months on end till the rains come. And since I know this frog is here, it might be an idea to try and get the same picture, and we'll see how maybe different temperatures and different climatic conditions will change the color of the frog. If she's still here. The thing is, she's got to hydrate sometimes. So from here she's got to go somewhere where there's water to put her back legs in water, because frogs don't drink water. It's one of the most remarkable things about frogs. They actually don't drink water to hydrate. They absorb water through their skin, sort of, I guess, their thighs and their lower back, their legs. Mostly the legs, I think. Radio not working.
I haven't did anything either.
Okay. I'm alive. Hello, Andrew. Off we go. Sorry, I got away too quickly. This mushroom that I found yesterday, to catch up things from what we've been doing from day to day. You see, you actually have to drive a couple of times, or even every day, every drive, I hope. But sometimes you might miss things. But in case you missed it, I found this mushroom. It's a dried mushroom, so I didn't feel too bad about picking it. It's probably dropped the spores already. But it looked unusual because it's something I've never seen before. I've seen much smaller ones, and they're either known as funnel caps or caps. But I've never found one quite as big as this. Very woody, a very hardy woody mushroom. It's also not a mushroom that grows on wood, but it's a mushroom that grows off the underneath the decaying wood of what looked like an apple tree. So it had its own roots and it's got its own stem and everything. It's also got its own very distinctive fin pattern underneath. Won't get into technical nomenclature right now, but I've tried to find things in my book, and it's the second mushroom that I've found that is quite large, but also there's nothing in my book that even mentions anything that is big in this shape and this tightness. So I mean, normally they're little mushrooms. Maybe conditions were just perfect for them to grow like this. There are changes in climatic conditions that maybe stop the growth when it gets to a certain size because it's drying out, stop growing. But if the humid and moist conditions persist, maybe it grows bigger, and that the book is wrong. Funnel wood cap or something. Need to look into it further. another arc here in Arkansas. What is the size comparison? The scale of the frog. Okay, that would have been probably about 3 inches in length, or maybe 1.5 inches wide, and her tummy. I'm assuming, I'm presuming that it was a female, because tree frogs, as with many other frogs, the females are a lot larger. They're the ones that have to carry as large egg mass, because there can be hundreds of eggs got to produce. So quite often you will find that frogs and females, they're a lot larger than the males, and since that was an exceptionally large tree frog, I'm assuming it was a female. I don't think there are going to be rains again that are going to satisfy their breeding needs. Tree frogs are what we call crash breeders. They quite interestingly have a very, very short metamorphosis from tadpole to frog, and since their method of breeding is to make a foam nest in a tree or a branch or something hanging over the water, sometimes it's just the cliff face or the rock, and that foam incubates the eggs. The outer area of that foam, although it's almost like egg white whipped up for meringue, the outer casing of it dries quite hard, and what it does is it reflects the light, and then those dried up bubbles on the outside almost become the insulation for keeping it moist and humid on the inside, almost like bubble wrap in a way. And when those little tadpoles hatch and they start swimming around in all those bubbles start condensing and they start dripping into the water below, and each little droplet actually carries through a few tadpoles. But of course it's very important that whatever water body that they're breeding in is going to last long enough for the tadpoles to grow and mature and become big enough to actually emerge as frogs. Whether they still got their tails on or not is a different story. But to be able to emerge and to be able to survive without the water. We're going to stop here at Chelapan. We're at Chelapan, which actually Chela means frog, so we're actually quite an appropriate pan. I can see it's already full of buffalo. It's probably all the buffalo we saw in the riverbed this morning. We're just going to stop here and have a look at them. Maybe they're the remnants of a tree frog nest that I can show you. Do it again, because these pans are already drying up, and there's a hamerkop that's fishing, and a grey luri in the gardenia, and oxpeckers complaining bitterly. 2 hamerkops, and I wouldn't be surprised, in fact I would pretty much bet that they're the same 2 hamerkops we saw getting a little bit frisky in a tree this morning. The same 2 who've been trying to build a nest in front of the camera, but I don't know, I think they've moved. They're next. Hello, Lynn in Toronto. I wonder if this is the same Lynn, Canada, Alaska Lynn T. But Lynn in Toronto wants to know if I ever found out what it was that elephant dug up. Was it a mushroom? Lynn, I'm thinking you're referring to that time we had that big ellie at the marula tree, and all the red star zinnias were in full, well, they were in bloom and green, and it was lush, and the grasses were very, very thick, and it was hot and humid. I think it's the hamerkops and the oxpeckers are disturbing the buffalo. That was a mushroom. It was a giant mushroom, and I even kept a little piece of it when I went to stand under that marula tree to try and get an idea of, or try and give you an idea of the size scale, by not moving the camera and being able to superimpose me with the elephant. Go away, flies. We're with buffalo, so we have these little flies that become quite irritating. I never found out what mushroom it was. No, Lynn, I'm still looking. Much like I'm going to be taking a while to find out what this mushroom is all about that I'm holding here. Yellow-billed hornbill on top of the gardenia, sitting in the sun. And there is also another thing I wanted to show you, which is actually quite remarkable, because we're just going higher and higher from the water right now. Yellow-billed hornbill sitting there panting in the sun, and off he goes. Now if we go back, he's just flown into the jackalberry. Now if we go pan a little bit to the right on that jackalberry, to one of those overhanging branches, we can actually see a foam nest from a tree frog. That little white spot that we can see, a little bit of meringue, that has got to be at least 20 feet or more. What do you think? Up in that jackalberry, and there looks like just to the left of it are some other older nests. Now I'm not too sure if it's still an active one, or whether they've hatched from it, or whether it dehydrated, whatever the case may have been. But what is interesting is that the frogs that made that nest would have had to come down to the water to rehydrate and go back up to the nest to continue. It's quite a long climb. Well, I suppose for a tree frog's not too bad. The oxpeckers are telling the buffalo that we're in danger, so they're a little bit stressed. The Hamakops are hoping that with the buffalo activity, the frogs and aquatic life that lives in this little pan are going to be pushed over to the edges, and they're going to feel the movement or see some movement, and going to increase their hunting ability or their opportunities. Hippo tolerate the Hamakops. I don't think the buffalo would. The buffalo barely tolerate the oxpeckers. As we can see with that one on, with an oxpecker on his nose, right in his face. Now I get bugged by just the little flies that fly around my face. I can't imagine what it's like to have an oxpecker with its beak up your nose, or its beak in your ear, or pecking at the corner of your mouth. No, I think the nose. It's got to be the nose. It's got to be the worst. An oxpecker with its beak up your nose. You can see with all the different horn shapes, look at that, there's actually an amazing opportunity to see the variation. We've just been watching a couple of kudu with a variation or a difference in their horn shapes and sizes, and here we have an opportunity to look at different buffalo. The one on the far left, the lower left, you see how tight the curve is of his horns. Now we can look at the one with his, looking at the back of his head just to the back of him, how much different that curve is. And then they've got this buffalo that's testing his luck with a couple of the individuals here. First he was nudging one on this side, now he's nudging that boy. Got to understand that these buffalo have probably been together for their entire lives. They probably grew up in the same breeding herd, following the same seasonal patterns or seasonal movements for 10 or 20 years, maybe 15. Can't even remember how old buffalo get. I think probably about 20. Maybe I'm wrong. On we go. I think let's continue. Treehouse dam next. And then I think we'll go and check on some cats that we found this morning. Maybe. They are going to be flat. And it is quite a mission to get in there. And we are the only vehicle that can do so. Let's see. I'm going to do a test now. Uplink station, Mark WildEarth Mobile. Hi Andrew. Okay, copy. Thanks, Andrew. A lot of Nyari and Telepan. As these pans are drying up, the mud is getting a lot thicker, and it's actually going to get to be quite a critical point where there's going to be a difference between wallowing in the mud and actually getting stuck in the mud. Although I don't think these little pans are that quite deep enough. You need far larger bodies of water where when it starts drying up, the clay gets so thick that they can actually get stuck. But the life of a buffalo, this is why we call them Dugger boys, because he's just covered in Dugger. He's probably the muddiest buffalo we're going to see. And they're just whiling away the hot afternoon. This evening they'll go out and graze. They've probably been chewing the cud most of the day. And I can't imagine that the mud is cool. I can't imagine, because it's pretty dark and it must be warm as bath water. But the thicker the mud and the thicker the clay, the less those biting flies get to the skin, and it must be so much more of a relief lying in some really thick mud than having those flies bugging you like they do. And yes, Mr. Buffalo, it's a really hard life in Africa. I want to leave him sleeping in the mud. Bye bye, boys. At least you don't have to share that other little muddy puddle. Do you want to zoom in a bit? I mean, it looks like a desperate situation, but I have to tell you, it's not. This is one of the happiest buffalo you will ever see in Africa. So we have a saying, as happy as a buffalo in a mud wallow. And you can just lie in the sun and endure the little flies that are irritating your eyes. Oh, a question. I wondered what happened to our viewers. Yes, there's a viewer. Oh, there's a wax bull sitting in the back there. That little bit of worry just above his horns. Don't know, it's against such a tiny little bird. And there's another one. Little blue wax bulls. Chris in North Carolina. The Tar Heel State, huh? Hello, Chris. Morning to you. Why does it seem that some of the buffalo horns, the boss of course, is that incredible dense horny mass on the top of their heads, between their horns. Please don't think that this buffalo is in distress. He's not. He's a happy buffalo. He's sitting in mud. As we saw, he lifted his head pretty quickly. And the other one was also, I'm sorry boys, I'm sorry. Okay, now he's going to stretch, so we've got to watch this because it shows off all the muscles. It's like a weightlifter showing off. Sorry boys. The other one, that's the one that got the fright. And he got a fright and caused this one to stand up. But I'm glad he did, just in case somebody wrote in and said, oh, that buffalo was stuck in the mud and you didn't stop and help him. Well, there's not much I could do with a 800 kilogram buffalo that's stuck in the mud. But anyways, it's him. He's the culprit. He's just too jumpy for words. But Chris was saying the boss, that horn, that massive horn on the top of their heads, which is built up over generations and generations because of their manner of fighting. Why is it that some of them seem to have such a deteriorated boss? And part of it is because they cannot avoid, or they cannot completely. Well, actually, sorry, switch off again. That's quite an amazing. If you just bring his a little bit more, instead of center, more a little bit, yeah, like that. If you had to take a screenshot of that and do it in black and white, or a muddy buffalo, quite amazing. Go away, fly. Let's go. Maybe they'll come back to their mud wallow. They were looking so peaceful. And then King Alan Hewitt. Alan. I'll get back to Alan's question. Alan was asking about the most unusual mating ritual behavior in any animal here, but I've still got to talk about that boss, because there is the larva of a moth, and I'll try and bring you a buffalo skull to show you. But there is the larva of a moth that exclusively feeds on the keratin of horn, of that material that constitutes antelope horn, and whether it's impala or kudu, no matter what horn it is, if that moth lays its eggs on it, the larva will feed on it. And since the outer covering of buffalo horn is so dense and dead keratin, even while they're alive, there are still larvae living in those horns. And I can show you with skulls of dead buffalo how those larvae tunnel into the horn, and of course it probably creates an irritation, and it's one of the reasons why buffalo rub their horns on trees. The tannin, I think, helps, but I suppose in some ways it helps them to combat, or not combat, but control the level of infestation of the horn borer moth larva. Once they die, of course, those horn borers get very, very deep into. I'm just looking at an insect that is right here on this quarry. That's a wasp. One of the spider wasps, I think. I'm not really sure. I need to be closer to it, and I can't get closer, but maybe a photograph. Well, it looks like starting to look more like a robber fly, a species of carnivorous fly that hunts insects on the wing. Yeah, it looks like it could be. Anyways, thought it might have been a jewel beetle, but it's definitely looking at things flying past, the way it turns its entire body. So for very old buffalo, sometimes the parasite load of horn borer moths becomes quite intense, and it does thin out the horns over time if they can't control it. And when a buffalo dies, obviously it's not rubbing his horns on branches anymore, it's not rubbing his horns on trees, so it's not rubbing off the secretions of the moths. But once they die, you see these tunnels that appear out of the horns of buffalo, old long dead buffalo, and they sort of the secretion tubes and the protection tubes of the waste of the moths that are boring into that keratin of the horn. The squirrel and a barbet had a conversation, and then the barbet flew away and the squirrel went his own way. Okay, squirrel's gone, barbet's still there. And barbet's gone following the squirrel. Who knows what a squirrel and a crested barbet have to talk about on a hot afternoon. Use your imagination. With Alice and the Mad Hatter. Indeed. You're late for a very important date. Okay, so I'm way behind on questions and things, I think, because I got a little bit carried away. The next question was, I even said it, Chris. Get back to it. This is the King Alan Hewitt. There's giraffe tracks. Maybe there's... Oh, and the giraffe over there. Thank you, King Alan Hewitt. Okay, well, let's get a good view of these twiggers, because we haven't seen giraffe for a while. Let's spend some time with some of Africa's tallest animals. Right here around the bend. Just like me, round the bend. Two there. Maybe this is the family that's come back. We haven't seen them, but there's a big bull. There's a big cow right up ahead of us. What we want to do is we want to get a little bit further west of them. Oh, and elephant have closed the road. Decided that, and there's another female. Look how pretty she is. Let's just stop here for now. Oh. Beautiful light on them. King Alan Hewitt. Yes, Mr. Alan Hewitt. The most unusual mating rituals of animals. I suppose giraffe. Probably one of them, because of the way they wrap their necks around each other. Animals don't have that much of a mating thing. As much as maybe birds and lizards and snakes and insects, where display is all of what it's all about. Animals have a gift that forgoes all of that to some extent, in that there are pheromones. I suppose all the other insects have pheromones. I mean, think of a moth that can pick up the female pheromones, or the pheromones of a female moth, 1 in a billion. I mean, it's unbelievable how a male moth can sense a female moth. But strangely enough, animals don't really have that fantastic or intricate, or they just don't have. The male picks up the pheromones and goes and sniffs the female, and they get together. This is what's happening here. That big boy over there. I'm not going to go closer right now. Just stop and get a look at their heads over the trees for the time being, because there does seem to be something going on there. He's a very big boy. He's a very dark chocolate giraffe. She's a bit skinny in the neck. Don't know if that's a compliment to a giraffe or not. But he's standing very proud. And he's also displaying to any other giraffe, any other bull giraffe in the area, that he has got total ownership here. It's almost like a proud stance that challenge me at your peril. Crack your cervical vertebra with a single punch of my ossicones. The horns on a giraffe are known as ossicones, and their manner of settling disputes is to swing those little stubby ossicones at each other with the fulcrum of the neck and the weight of the head, punch each other in the shoulder and the neck, and inflict enough that your opponent gives up and moves away. I think he fell asleep and he forgot that she's moved off. Mr. G, the lady's gone. Or maybe you got to throw a coin in the cup for him to move. He's displaying to somebody. His ears are back. He's holding a posture that is I'm just guessing, explaining what I'm seeing, what I'm interpreting. You are quite the man. Interesting. Ah, he's holding that pose. Let's see if we can find another member of this group. I think it was us who was displaying it with us, because now that we've moved, he's moved. Let's go to the dam quickly. Pretty impressive Balanites finds. And then we're going to do something about this to get to Treehouse Dam. And if we can try to push it a little bit out of the way. Oh, what you did to an elephant? It's a tree. We'll wander back this way shortly. Something just bit me. There's a family of Ellies that have been here. And sadly they were at the dam and they went the opposite direction, so maybe go and look for those Ellies shortly, but we might come back to these giraffe. I just want to have a look at the dam. I was just suddenly got an idea that there might be elephant around, and these Ellies have obviously been here during the day. Go ahead, Andrew. My definition of sustainable game reserve from Bob in Iowa. Big question there, Bob. Because I guess you got two options. You got low cost, high impact, or high cost, low impact. Oh, it's a fish eagle. There's a fish eagle here. Cousin to the bald eagle, and I hope it's not going to go too far. Sorry, squirrel. Ducking into its hole in this marula tree. Quasi. Fish eagle and a goose. My definition of a sustainable game reserve. Well, I know of one. And strangely enough, it's a game reserve that engages in breeding of rare species that is able to make, not only, well, I guess in a way, make a profit, but it is a sustainable reserve. The finances that it derives from being a game reserve, a very low impact, I have to emphasize this, a very low impact game reserve, very, very little human impact. But yet it's a game reserve that through breeding of endangered species is able to survive and not have the impact that tourism has on it. So the animals are able to live their lives in a very, very large environment, relatively free of the hassle of countless vehicles daily, like you get here in the Sabi Sand, where the bulk of the activity here, there's no game breeding here, there is no I guess there is a little bit of movement of animal species, but it's not a financial contract or a financial transaction as much as it is in some of the reserves that, because they're self-contained reserves, they have to be able to not only maintain fences, maintain anti-poaching patrols, they have to maintain their populations. So this is the juvenile fish eagle we've been seeing for the last few months, still getting his adult colours. Well done, Brian. I don't know what to say, it's probably gone back to Djuma or Gary Dam now. But sustainable could be anything that derives revenue, that allows the game reserve itself to be able to function as a viable reserve. In other words, it has to maintain boundaries. It has to maintain the integrity of the diversity that occurs within that area. And of course, the smaller it is, the less the diversity that it can be. So of course, the bigger the area, the greater the diversity, and the less intense the management has to be. But ultimately, there has to be revenue, because who's going to pay out of their pocket for what it costs to patrol and fence and keep animals safe from human greed? And so in the old days, there used to be a saying, in the old days, when I say the old days, many years ago, we used to say, if it pays, it stays. If you have an area and it can pay for itself, it'll stay an area. It'll stay it'll retain its, or maintain its status quo. But I think that kind of mentality has changed now. Now you've got more of a mentality of, if it stays, it actually pays. So there's a greater incentive now to retain and to conserve. I don't like to use the word preserve, because that kind of has the connotations of pickling in bottles. But to conserve natural heritage, to conserve natural diversity, biodiversity. And the more diverse an area you have, the less management is needed, so the less costly it becomes. And so the greater the area, the more functional it is as a natural environment, or as a natural habitat, where there's very little hands-on management other than sort of monitoring, much like the Kruger National Park. And as big as the Kruger National Park is, that is still an area that is restricted by human pressures on the outside. But sustainable? Oh gosh. To make things sustainable, you have to make them accessible, so that the revenue can maintain it. And unfortunately, just much like the Kruger and some other national parks, that means that sometimes you have to just let humans run wild, and it's not always the best case. And there will always be money needed to maintain it. I don't know, it's a very difficult question, Alan. It's the kind of thing that you can sit around a fire at night and you can debate it till the dawn cracks and the francolins start hauling. The question becomes deeper and greater the smaller or the more pressure that is applied by burgeoning human population. So, just looking at the orchid that lives here, just called the elephant carcass or elephant skull. And curious as to where my far look is, or not where they're supposed to be. No, nothing there. I did see an orchid just the other day that still had flowers on it, but there's one of our tree orchids in that dead leadwood. I'd say it's relatively dormant right now, not growing, just surviving till humidity, or just bearing the elements until conditions return. Changing subject, favourite subject of mine, changing subject. Get off of that. I don't know, Alan, if I didn't answer your question, or if I didn't I hope I managed to sort of get to some of it. Sarah in California. I think that's Sarah without the H, if I'm not mistaken. Hello, Sarah. Parasitic insects. Wait, we're on some tracks of some really tiny baby ellies. The footprints are like about this big. So there have been some very young ellies here. Haven't seen any dung yet. Give me an idea of how old or how long ago they were here, but they were at Treehouse Dam. They headed east. Hopefully we can find some of them, and we'll eventually get to the lion, because they're not going to do anything now. They haven't done anything yet. So we'll go to Twin Dams, maybe come up the riverbed or something, and then we'll go further east if these ellies are still further east. Sarah, parasitic insects. It's not so much that it's the insects that are parasitic, but it's the parasite that is carried within the insect. I suppose not much the insect that is going to cause us harm, but it's what lives in the insect that uses us as part of its life cycle, and part of the insect is the life cycle. And it's not always an insect. I mean, one of the most prolific and misunderstood and taken for granted is the Bilharzia parasite, but it doesn't live in an insect. It lives in a snail. It lives in an aquatic snail, and whether it uses bovids or humans, the fact is that it can affect us. It can get into our bloodstream, and it can cause all sorts of things like blood in the urine, and a kind of a sleepiness, tiredness all the time, a lethargy, I guess is the best way to describe it. There is a I mean, we don't much in the way of tsetse fly here, which carries trypanosomiasis, because there's a trypanosome, the larva of that causes sleeping sickness in East Africa. But I think the parasite's pretty much wiped out, and you need to be bit by a lot of tsetse flies maybe. So just because you're falling asleep at work and you've been to Africa doesn't just say you've got sleeping sickness. Elephants, where are you? Oh, now I can see your tracks here. I have to go and find them. More buffalo. And impala. And Bertel starling. Hello, children. Oh, here's one of these groups of buffalo that has this youngster that's with them, but it's not the calf, it's just a young bull. Hello boys, this is a bachelor herd of impala too. But, okay, we're going to move on a little bit. I want to see these two buffalo that we're looking at that are standing up. I've been quite interested in something a little bit to the west. Let's see what there might be up here. They're hearing something or seeing something. Impala or not. Impala don't seem too concerned. And the three buff lying down didn't seem too concerned. However, I'm not convinced. Hello boys. Got something to tell me? Not much. Not much at all. Okay. Good question. That's actually Bob on Twitter. Hi Bob. Tweeted a question. Does Kruger get any income from the private reserves? I'm actually not sure, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say I'm not sure because I'm part of it. Because being part of the Timbavati, we are much the same as the Sabi Sand. We're one of the contractual parks to Kruger. We're a private reserve, but but I don't think so. I don't think there is any financial contribution. More elephant tracks heading east. Might still be a family here in the riverbed somewhere, and so we're just going to do a little river drive, nice and cool. As far as Kruger's concerned, they have a fair amount to say about what happens in the private reserves in terms of
Hello everyone. Being out in the bush and being out there live has its technical challenges. We're experiencing some of that now and are working on it as fast as possible to get it sorted and get you back on the vehicle with us.
Thank you. We're back again. And we're stuck again. Just also we had a back at sea. More tracks of Ellie's heading east. I'm tempted to go after them, and I think we've still got enough sunlight that maybe we can head up east and try and find some of these Ellies. We don't yet. And then make our way to the Lion a little closer to sunset. Hi everyone. You haven't really missed anything. I'm sorry that we lost you for a bit. We had a little technical issue of a technical issue. What can I say? You know how it is when you're watching CNN or Sky, one of those things, and you got a reporter out in a war zone. Oh, no, let's not use it, but somewhere out in the field, and it goes all funny. That's kind of what happens to us sometimes, because we are in the middle of Africa. We're in the middle of one of the biggest national parks in Africa, and we're driving a Land Rover through the bush, following animals, and we're able to broadcast to the world. I don't know, that kind of comes across as how amazing that can be. Because I still marvel at that. I'm not a technophobe entirely. I'm not completely oblivious to what is available technologically. But it is still amazing to me that I can talk to you, that we can drive this camera around and Brian can show you the images and I can tell you about them, and we can do this in real time. That it's not following elephant tracks. Actually, I'm going to follow them a little bit. It's going to go a little bit further east rather than take Drakensberg. And then we're going to start making our way west into the sunset. And hopefully getting to find some cats in a little while who have probably been sleeping all day. Big pride lion that are looking a little bit hungry. And I'm going to see how much they're interested in Brian. I'll sort of dangle Brian off the vehicle.
Well, do you want to do that?
Maybe just the thumb.
Okay, thumb.
No, we won't do that. An elephant were here. They pulled up this pipe. New addition to Mumba Road. Bent a tree. We've already seen a couple of trees that have been pushed over, but it looks like they've gone a lot further east than I was hoping, because they've now crossed our boundary. See all their tracks here in the road, and it looks like there was quite a lot of ellies. Destiny, Kevin and Jason. Destiny, Kevin and Jason, and Miss Destiny? No, Miss Jacobs, sorry. Hello Miss Jacobs, nice to have you with us. Kevin and Destiny, Jaden as well. How did I come to have this job? I don't know. How did I come to have this job? Well, I think to start with, I have to tell you that this isn't the job. This is what I do. This is my life. This is what I'm born on the planet to do. I have a love and a respect and a passion for everything that we see. And there is a lot that I wish I could show you, because it's in a really minute detail and we can't get the camera off of the vehicle, so we drive around and we try and show you all sorts of things. But ultimately what it is that this is my world, this is my universe, this is everything that means anything to me. And since it has been so much part of my life for so many decades, and I have seen such magnificent and wonderful things that nature has, I just want to share it with people. And this somehow has become a way for me to share it with people in the part of the world that can never get here to experience it. And I'm able to do that through Wild Earth and through the camera and through the whole thing that we have as our live drive. There are some wonderful guides here in all of the lodges, some guys that have a great passion. I mean, we saw one of them, Brent, who was here the other day, a guy who's been in lodges, he's been in the business a little while. It sounds like he's even been in places like Southeast Africa and West Africa, and he's been around a bit, so he's got a passion, he's got an understanding of nature, and the kind of guy. Scott is another one. I mean, Scott, and hopefully we might even see Scott again one day if we ever get to do this again, because I'd love to do it again with Scott, the live drives. But Scott's another one who, apart from what we do here, we take people out on safari in different parts of Africa, or we try to, but we can never reach the numbers, or it's all one thing, taking people out who have the wherewithal and have the financial means to come to Africa. When I say wherewithal, the physical and the ability to get here. There are a lot of people out there in the world who would love to know what Africa is all about, who would love to know what it is like to drive through the African bushveld. This is kind of the best we can do at the moment, but technology is going to change. Maybe one day we can have a 3D, or rather 360 degree camera that will drive through, and who knows, maybe you can sort of select a spot and zoom in on your own and find your own animal. But Wild Earth has been doing this for so long that it started with just a refreshed still image being driven around, and we've gotten to the point where we're able to now broadcast a really good HD image. And I think it came about at a time when I had spent enough time in the game lodges entertaining people in the bush and driving people through Africa to know that there are a lot of good guides out there that can do it with people on the vehicle, and I just happen to have a way of doing it that I can do it. I don't have to have you physically on the vehicle, but it kind of feels like you're with me because you're able to talk to me, and I can get to tell people things who are never going to come to Africa. And I think we've seen in the past, and we're still trying to find guys or presenters that are going to come and join us. It's not something that everybody's really cut out for. It's not something that every guide is able to do, to see you rather than a camera, to see you as people and as persons that we're responding to. That for me is probably one of the greatest things. You hope that you pick that up in the way that I get so distracted by things sometimes, like that bird that's shouting now. Anyway, it's a stickler making a lot of noise, trying to get my attention, and it's probably just something minor. Sorry to ignore you, child. How I got this job was I was ending another job. I was down in the Cape. My contract came to an end. I'd been managing a reserve. Things changed on that property. Come to abuse me again, this bird. Where are you? But I needed so much change in my life, and my life path took me through that change. And when I needed the next step after that change, I met Graham and Emily, and they gave me the opportunity to get behind the wheel of not exactly this one, because it was Jigger actually, and it seemed to work. I seemed to be able to do what was needed, and it's not a job, it's what I love doing. It pleases me to know and to get into this vehicle and drive around one of the best game reserves in southern Africa, one of the highest densities of leopard, one of the most amazing experiences you can get with elephant, the dynamics of lion prides that exist in this area, the unique, in fact, the unique dynamics of what's happening with lion coalitions and the interactions of lion and leopard and the hyena. Even hyena, we're finding things that we didn't know about. So it's a unique opportunity to do something that I love, there's a very big difference. The guiding that one does when you're with guests in a lodge, it's a 3 or 4 day excursion. You have to try and condense all of this that we see over months and months and months. You have to take all of the highlights that we see over many, many months, try and condense those into a 3-day trip to Africa. To try, because you know what it's like. This is what live drives are about. Look, we're driving around, and although I'm talking, I'm still looking, I'm still trying to find something, and I might still find another tree frog sitting in a tree. But there are times when you don't see anything, and it's those times that you just got to experience being there. And when we do have those really, really highlighted times when we're with really exciting things, they don't happen every 5 minutes. So when you have guests that are here for a very short period of time, it's a completely different. So you've got to listen to it. Mostly starlings. You can hear all that bird call. Something's going on. A lot of this is quite repetitive, a certain type of alarming, and I'm not really sure what it means. It's not ominous. I'm not picking up anything. I'm thinking that this is just a large flock of wattle starlings. All their children, and it's their children that are so hungry that are crying out for food. It's just such a large flock of them, I'm guessing. I'm going to try and edge forward. The weirdest thing is, it was only this morning I was asked, is there ever something that you've ever heard that you don't know what it is, or you've never heard it before? This, I've never heard this before. This, pardon? Yeah, I saw those. I was watching those. They mostly look like juveniles. And I think they're all wattle starlings. But listen to this. Okay, birders, those of you who are birders or just like birds, we always talk about birds together. What do you make of this? This is rather unique. Whether it's a precursor to something, or it's just normal for such a large flock. if we could just get close, you can see that a young male that's up there. You can see starting to get a little bit of his wattle. I just don't know why they're so. These are wattle starlings, and this is more than a constellation. This is like a universe of starlings around us at the moment. Every tree has got starlings in it. And the weirdest thing is that we haven't, I don't think the whole summer we haven't seen wattle starlings. And that, Well, an interesting phenomena, folks, we have just witnessed. Very interesting, Peter. Very, very interesting, Peter. Always something's going to baffle you. That's what nature is all about. It's so wonderful about it. And they're following us. Any minute now they're going to be tearing the hat off of my head. It's okay, the ninja will save us. The ninja thumb will save us. Step 2. And maybe the magnetic monkey. Hello Jennifer on Twitter. Hashtag Safari Live. Hashtag wattle starlings. Hashtag birds. Hashtag. Okay, I want to do that whole thing. Maybe one of these days I will. Jennifer was saying maybe they're getting ready for migration, but they're not migrants. Jennifer. Not really. And welcome back. Something missing. I thought there might have been something missing. No. Okay, I'll use this one in the meantime. Welcome back. What we are doing, we're heading back towards Gowrie Dam, and we're going to go and find these cats, because there's going to be time that they're going to start waking up. If they're still there, I'm counting on them still being there, because it's been a really hot day, and my efforts at finding elephants, well, I've come pretty close with fresh tracks and dung. And one last chance here, close to Djuma Waterhole, Gowrie Dam. Maybe we'll find one there. But it's a hot day. They're not going to be out here much. They're going to be more thickets. So, what I want to show you is one of these birds. This is a book that is, oh, and then there's an eagle up ahead. We'll let gravity follow us there. The wattle starling. They are nomadic, but they are residents, you see, so they don't really migrate. And this collection of wattle starlings that we've just witnessed, we will see more collections going into the dry season. Sorry. Okay, here. We didn't see any big males. I saw one male that had a little bit of a yellow, but he didn't have the wattle. And most of them were juveniles. I think there were a lot of them. Most of the noise, I think, was coming from juveniles. But that is the wattle starling. Hello, Marsha. That's a brown. Wolbergs or a brown? That's a brown snake eagle. Looking at the profile of this bird. Oh, yes, it was. Oh my gosh. Hey, Marsha, Kentucky. Could it have been a murmuration of starlings? It was most definitely a murmuration of starlings. I think if there is anything that epitomizes the collective noun of starlings, that was it. If murmuration of starlings is the collective noun, or is it a... There's one of them, I think. I remember we used to go through this a lot. And I think we need to do that. Maybe every day, once a day, we'll do a collective noun. Today, the collective noun of the day is starlings. Let's look at what it really is and what we as people, based on that collection of starling murmuration, what we think it should be. That cacophony of sound, that galaxial cacophony. Send it to Andrew. Questions at WildEarthTV. Just put it in the subject line, not in the main body of the message. Just so you can read the subject line. What do you think a collection of starlings should be, and what do you think it really is? Collective nouns being what they are. Oh, that's interesting. Oxpecker. Sharon, hello Sharon. Sharon is interesting animal down there for them. A buffalo. Who would have thought on a hot day? There would be an interesting. Sharon in Austria, thanks for your input, and I guess I can agree with you to a large extent, Sharon. Sharon is saying that the European starlings, so Sharon is in Austria, and the European starlings gather before they move to a different area, just much the same way. And well, one of the things is with the wattle starlings being the kind of nomadic birds that they are, they might move into an area for a while, and then they'll split up in their big groups, and they'll go off and do what they have to do. And I suppose it is what they do. They back in those flocks, and all that noise that many miles away, you can still hear this down, and the flock builds up, and then it moves to a different area. It's not really a migration, because they don't migrate anywhere. They're just nomadic. I guess the Maasai or some other nomadic tribal people that will settle for a little while in an area, and they will utilize the food source in an area, and then they'll move on. Elephants, I suppose, in a way, are nomadic. So Sharon, you're quite right. It could most likely be that they've been here all along, and that we've missed the little pockets, because when they're not in their big flocks, that when they're not maybe moving to a different area, they're just in little family groups, and they're just so easy to miss because, well, they are not very conspicuous unless they're in that big flock. But I have to be honest, I've lived around wattle starlings all my life and I've never seen that before. I've seen gatherings, and in fact we'll be seeing it soon, the European or Eurasian bee eaters, before they go back to Europe, they do the same thing. They start collecting in huge numbers, and you get a cacophony of bee eater sound very similar to what you're having there with the starlings. That's a wonderful thing to witness. Thanks, Sharon. I'm thinking that maybe, perhaps, if I'm lucky, these cats are going to be thirsty, and instead of heading north or anything, they might just decide to come to Gowrie Dam. Evening, the wilds of Africa, a tiny little dirt track winding its down through drainage line, in search of at least 8 of Africa's biggest cats. Could change things, because if there were elephants around, they might have displaced the lion. Oh gee, they've been digging up bulbs and things, eating the bulbs and leaving the leaves. RC, I agree with you. RC is saying should be a galaxy of starlings. I think so too. That's my collective noun for starlings is a galaxy. Who says we have to stick to the whole Oxford thing? Oh my word, Terry, you're in Secunda? That's quite amazing that we got someone from Secunda, I think. Hello Secunda. Secunda is a very important town here in South Africa. Yeah, Terry should. Sorry. A wonderment of wattle. Janice in Baltimore. Yeah, but now, sorry, Terry and Secunda. What was Terry's suggestion? Because I'm suddenly concentrating on getting off road here, Terry. Sorry. Noisy thing. So astounded to get someone from Secunda. Secunda is a small town here in South Africa, and it is, I guess you could say, an industrial little town. Whew. Andrew, what did Terry say? It should be. Oh, a racket. Yes, a racket. No, let's be nice, Terry. Starling. Now, there's an amazing question. And Sharon, you challenging me while I'm doing like 23-point turns and things. What do I think it is that over the centuries has resulted in the shortening of the tail of the back of the ears that makes it seem... What's that? What, back left for me? Back left wheel? Huh? Huh? These cats aren't here. I don't know what I'm going to do. What I think it is. I think, Sharon, I think it is the diversity. I think it is the competition as a combination of snake eagle and scavenger and the height at which they soar and the pattern, the type of flying that they do. That if they had to, I've got to turn that one down, that they have had to over time, if they were to engage in this kind of flight behavior that batters do and have a full tail the way that other eagles do, with the tight turns that they have to perform, lie and work here, so they're anywhere close by. They're not here right now, but I'm not surprised because this would have been a really hot little promontory, for want of a better word, during the heat of the day, and they would have maybe moved down into the west, the east of it, away from the sun. So maybe there's a cat here somewhere. There they are, all flat. There's the little boy, well, not such a little boy, but the young male. But I'm going to try and move into a decent position for now so that we can sit and watch them, because I've delayed arriving here the whole afternoon because it's been hot. And gosh, look at these beautiful trees, beautiful tambuti with what looks like a shepherd's tree, a very special shepherd's tree. We're not going to be able to follow them. We're going to have to find a little, like that little view through there with just that female looking at us for now, because it's it's cooling down, the shadows are getting longer, and well, I'm going to just try and go back an inch so that we got it like there. Sorry, because then it's clearer. Sometimes I can't gauge the different angle between myself and the camera until it gets really like now. There's a bit of grass in her eye. That doesn't help. Okay, let's keep it there. There we go. Welcome to Africa, everybody, and the pride of lion that are at ease with our presence. They've been sleeping all day, but no doubt going to wake up pretty soon. Sounds good to me. Andrew's telling me that there are few people that are asking about my views on this concept of these males that have just killed a female last night. Pardon?
Well, your hat went straight into circle.
Oh, my hat. As she's rolling around and waking up and... Hello, pussycat. Oh, I love you so much. I can never touch you. Might be a little bit detrimental to my health. What I think of this... just to fill you in, I've just been asked a question about a recent event, because I'm sure there are a few people out there that are watching our drive this evening. You might be new to what we're doing, and you might might not know what this is all about. We do 2 of these 3-hour drives a day, and for a lot of viewers who follow us almost on every drive and have the wonderful patience to stay with us, we get to see the lives of certain individual animals over time. So rather than visiting a reserve and you only get to see an animal once and then you go away and you never see it again, here we're actually able to follow these animals' lives over a few months and bring you almost a bigger picture of what it is that goes on in the life of lion or elephant or kudu or even impala in some cases, and maybe even plants and insects and spiders, and I'll go on and on and on. But this is a pride of lion that has been around in this area for a long time. They're known as the Nkuhumas, and up until now there's been 9 in number, which consisted of 3 adult females, 3 sub-adults, which was 1 male and 2 females, and then 3 cubs. And it's the young male that's lying over there. Now, it's quite possible that one of them was taken by a coalition of male lions that come in from the north, a coalition of male lions known as the Birmingham. No, the Birminghams. I think they said it was. Gee, I'm confusing myself now. Birmingham males. An upstart group of young males, sub-adult males, or they're a little bit older than this boy, but they're getting close to that age where they can hold their own, and evidently they killed a lioness last night. It was seen this morning with 2 males, and then another 3 joined them, and it was confirmed that it was that coalition of 5. So we're now with the Pride. They were found this morning. We were lucky enough to be able to follow them to a spot where, for what we can only get to, unfortunately I can't get any of the safari guide vehicles here because it's really difficult for a long wheelbase. We got a short wheelbase vehicle so we can go places. It's been a relatively hot day and these cats have been sleeping, and I'm hoping they're going to wake up. I'm hoping too they're not only hungry but they're also thirsty, and they're going to probably well, there's the potential for them to head in any possible direction, 360 degrees from here. However, behind us, directly behind us, and not too far away, in fact not too far away down this very same drainage or gully drainage line, lies Djuma waterhole or Gowrie Dam, and I'm hoping that they're going to go and maybe drink there later. It might be a little bit later than I want it to be, because we got to end our broadcast when it starts getting dark. Getting close to sunset now. But I'm counting on it being a little bit cooler than normal, that it hasn't been that hot, that actually very, very soon they're going to start getting a little bit active, because they're not full, they're not bloated, they're not these kind of cats that are going to wait until 8 o'clock at night to get up. They're the kind of cats that are going to wait until the shadows have got as long as they have now, and it's starting to cool down already, and there's probably going to be a little bit of movement. That's why we've waited until now to get here. And as long as they're around on Djuma, you can be sure that if I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to be finding them again and trying to follow up on what's going on in the lion dynamics of this little part of one of the biggest national parks in Africa. Even if it doesn't look very exciting right now, sometimes you just have to sit and wait for things to happen and make sure that you're there when they do. Ephraim, come in. What's that? Same lock as this morning. Her and cubs this morning, but now only one of them. What are you doing, child? Marisha, on question coming in on #SafariLive on Twitter. I'm going back to see if this male might be our best option to view at the moment, so we can talk about lion and things. Marisha, a really nice question, and I think it reminds me that I was getting to this sort of whole discussion. Marisha, why would those males kill that female? Why not mate with her? My comments on this whole thing, I was getting to the whole yawn, wakey, wakey. Hello, Mr. Lion. This is the young male of the Pride. He's still a sub-adult, so he's not the dominant male. He's still subordinate to females, the adult females. And those 5 males that have killed that female, that might even be, one of them might be his sister. My guess is, because I think I would really like to see the composition of this Pride, because we should have 3 adult females. I can't imagine that, well, actually I could. I suppose, imagine that they might have killed an adult female who might have been protecting the pride, might have been confronting them to sacrifice the pride, or rather to save the pride. It's very difficult to try and think of what circumstances arose that those males killed that female, other than those males, they're young males, they're nomadic, they are a new coalition and they're seeking out territory, and they managed to catch the female of a coalition of males that already exists. And it was probably mostly because of that they killed her. And I suppose in defiance, and for whatever reason, there's only the lion know why they actually feed on a carcass of their own kind. You can't even begin to try and psychoanalyze that whole thing. But because we've seen it here live on safari, on Wild Earth, we've seen lion killing and eating females. We saw it with the Majingi lions when they came in with one of the Styx females. So I can't even begin to try and understand why. I don't think anybody even should. It's just, this is what happens. This is how it has happened for millions of years. Lion, being the apex predator that they are, being such a powerful predator in the food chain, they're not only powerful in their own right, but they're even more powerful in that they live in prides, and that they hunt collectively, and that they defend territory collectively, makes them quite a formidable force. So there is very, very little that can affect the population of lion, and in theory, since they are an apex predator and there is nothing that is preying on them, what is it that really controls the population of lion? And actually the answer is in itself, it's lion that control the population of lion. And what is happening here is merely one of those examples, or one of those incidents where there is a clash and a lion died. And while it is sad because we get to know these individuals, and it'll be over the next few days when we get to see this pride out of this context, out of them being stuck in some really thick bush where we can get very, very little view of them to try and see the whole pride. When we eventually do see them in a day or two, or maybe even tonight, if they start moving now and go down to the dam, and we're able to follow them in the next, I'd say, 15-20 minutes. Yo, wake up, cat. But in time to come, we will try and discover who it was that was lost from this pride. But it's one of those things that we just accept, being the voyeurs that we are. We are not here to interfere in their lives. We are not here to protect them, from each other. We're here to protect them from humans. We're here to protect them and their environment, but we're not here to protect them as individuals. We're not here to doctor them. We're not here to pet them. We are not here to, if they have a cut or a boo-boo or a twisted ankle, in fact, even if they had a broken leg, sometimes you have to leave it alone, and just because it is that is what nature is. We're just here to observe. And this is something that happens in nature. It's been happening for millions of years. They are their own population control measure. Hello Norm, haven't heard from you in a while, but Norm was asking if maybe the pride has any remorse in losing one of the clan. I would say so. I would say, if we have to look at the footage from this morning, when some of what we were looking at was some concern, some of them were showing some concern in the direction where they'd come from. Maybe it's only my post-event interpretation of it. Maybe I'm wrong, but yes, you can't expect it not to be so, or you can't even believe for a minute that it cannot be so. You can't think that beings as they are, that are so social and so interactive with each other and have such strong bonds, that engage in allo grooming, they engage in allo suckling, that they have this incredible familial relationship. You can't for 1 minute believe that if one of them was missing, that they wouldn't miss them, that they wouldn't feel that loss. We don't have the monopoly on feelings in this world. All of us, lion, impala, kudu, duiker, chameleons, lizard, we've all got red blood, we've all got hearts and livers and lungs and spinal columns and veins, and we've all got the same parts, they're just in different proportions. Just because we have this vocabulary and we have this preconceived idea that we are these higher beings doesn't give us the monopoly on feelings and emotions. And it's only through being a part of nature and watching animals and being in their lives like we are here as Wild Earth that we get to see these emotions, we get to see these individual characters, and we can, oh, most definitely they will feel loss. That's undoubtable. There will be an energy void. In fact, I think animals and things in nature feel far more of the universal energy in the planet than we do, because we are so separated from it as humans. They're far more in tune with those energies. Hello, young man. Sue, hello Sue in Wisconsin. Why didn't the Birmingham boys take out the male, this little boy? Okay, Sue, first off, we don't know that that cat that they have killed is one of this crowd. We don't know that for sure. We don't know the circumstances of how they managed to get it. It could be that they rushed the pride ran, and that female was the one that they managed to catch, and because they caught one, that was all they needed. Could have been because there were only 2 lions seen at first, that it was only the 2 of them, and that their brothers came along at a later date. There's no way of knowing what transpired. So to try and answer a question why they didn't go for him, maybe because they just didn't get him. Maybe because in the ensuing chaos that might have transpired, if we can think of what might have transpired, that the two groups met somehow, and that somehow, maybe it was at night, maybe it was in the evening, maybe it was early morning. It's very hard to try and imagine the scenario, what had transpired to result in them killing the cat. But we don't know if it was one of them. We're assuming, because this pride is close by, and we actually only saw 8 of them. But we're in this kind of terrain. At the moment we can see at the most 2 or 3 of these cats. There might be all 9 here, for all we know. I'm hoping that just by sitting here and that by being patient, and we can talk to each other and you can ask questions and I can tell you about things, that in the interim we can wait for them to start getting a little bit active like he did. If they go anywhere, I don't know, if they go anywhere north, we're probably not going to be able to follow them much. We might be lucky to catch up with them again. But at the moment we're sort of at a dead end. We can't go anywhere further west or north. Beautiful sunset, actually. Let's just, since we're waiting for the cats to wake up, let's just quickly, while we're here, is there a way that we can just quickly share this most beautiful evening with you? I'm if I can just maneuver the vehicle in a way that we can just see a little bit of that golden glow of fire. Maybe forward. No. Sorry, Brian. But yeah, okay, well that's about the best we can do. As you can see, we've got a beautiful blue sky sunset tonight. It's the most beautiful evening. It's calm, it's warm. This cold front that must have been here has gone because there isn't a cloud in the sky, and it is actually still probably in the well above 30 degrees or around 30 degrees. Oh, it's still warm. It's hot, maybe 28, 30 degrees Celsius. And one of the most amazing opportunities to sit at a sunset with the pride of lion that are just about waking up from their hot summer's day slumber. And I'm no doubt that they're going to go looking for something to catch tonight, be it a buffalo or a zebra or a wildebeest or something. They're fairly close to Djuma, to the waterhole. There are waterbuck around and nyala and things, but they're also close to the open area of quarantine where there are zebra and wildebeest sometimes. And well, the whole pride is starting to groom themselves, wake up and do the whole cat thing, lick the paw, wipe the face, get the sleep out of the eyes, yawn, get the oxygen into the muscles, get ready to move, get some meat. Unfortunately, we're in an awkward position here. Rhode Island. Sorry, Andrew. Gail, Rhode Island. I think the Sabi Sand's probably a good few times bigger than Rhode Island, the whole state. Gail wants to know how old I think this male is, and when will he leave the pride, when will he go out on his own. That's imminent, Gail. I think he's about 3.5, I'm guessing. I'm sure Sharon and I'm sure that Sil and people who've been following these prides longer than I have know better. See if we can just get a little bit more of a view of that grooming. Oh, the girls are waking up, and these are two the adult females. They're probably sisters. I'm sorry that we've got obstructions, but hoping you can get an idea of the intense bonds that these cats have. The first thing they want to do when they wake up is just sort of headbutt each other and get a good message in to say, I still love you. I might swat you, I might tear your ears open, I might claw your face when we're fighting for food, but for now, loves you a lot. Hello girls, are you going to come out into the open for us? Come and sit here next to us and hello, Kathleen. Kathleen's offered a couple of theories as well as to the whole. I'm sorry, I kind of got way distracted, but I mean, look at this. Sorry, I need to just try and get at least a beautiful view of this. The way these cats, these three are just, they got a tiny gap to look through, so I need to move every now and then. Kathleen was saying that maybe it was an adult female that was protecting her cubs, or maybe it was a young female that wasn't ready to breed or something. There are, you're right, Kathleen, any number of possibilities depending on, well, I suppose largely depending on the age of the female and who she was. The thing is that I think the question earlier also was, why would they kill her, not breed with her? Because there's not, they can't breed with her because there is already a dominant coalition of males here, and if she were to fall pregnant and to give birth to cubs, the dominant males that are here already would automatically kill those cubs. Well, generally speaking, who knows? They might not. They might think that maybe they're their own, but we're dealing with a circumstance that has so many variables that we can only imagine, and anything that you may suggest could be a viable scenario for what happened, because that is what I guess what it is we don't know which lioness this is. We might even if we ascertain that it's one of the lionesses from here, it would still be very hard to try and understand the reasoning or anything else. We could think of 1,001 possibilities, and any one of them could be right, but also all of them could be wrong. And there could be something that happened that we can't even imagine, that isn't even within our powers of imagination, that could have happened, that could resulted in those males killing that female. One of the reasons why we try and watch these cats as much as we can, trying to get an idea of their temperament and their characters and status quo, and who's dominant and who's not. And even I think if we had been watching them every day and we'd still witnessed that, I think there would have still been 1,001 questions as to why or what it was, or reasoning behind it. And so over time you learn to not even question it. You learn to, I wouldn't say accept it, because it's you do have to accept it. That is what it is. But you don't have to accept the fact that it can't be explained. You just have to understand that it can't be, and so you don't need that acceptance. Do I make any sense? This is how lion dynamics work. This is Africa. And the way it works is that you don't have to analyze everything every time. It is what it is. These three that are being so lovey-dovey, if they caught a wildebeest or a zebra or something right now, I promise you they'd have their claws in each other's faces in a fraction of a second. Because then it's all about grabbing a piece of the cake, as it were. Sometimes I think the aggression gets a bit better of them. Hello, David. David in the UK. Question about lion hunting. How do they talk to each other? How do they communicate? Or is it all instinctive? David, the hunting part is instinctive. The actual chasing and bringing down is all the instinctive part, but the strategy isn't. And the strategy of what each individual does within the context of the hunt is quite crucial, because if we break down the whole hunt when lion are hunting, and invariably, or a lot of the time when they're hunting an animal that is part of a herd, you've got to imagine that different individuals are stationed in different places around the herd, and for them to communicate verbally would be to give away their positions. So there's a very limited amount of verbal communication when it comes to what to do within a hunt and what role to play for each individual. And so it all comes down to eye contact and body language, ear movement, or rather ear positions, eye positions, the tail, the flick of the tail, the stance of the body, the position of the body, but I think most of all the position of the head, and it's those black markings on the back of the ears and the triangle of the face of the lion, that when the ears are positioned in a certain way, that other members of the pride, when an individual within a herd is singled out as the individual to hunt, it's that focus that allows the other animals in the pride to focus on the same individual. You see, they can't just go and rush at a herd of animals and hope that they're going to bring one down. They have to collectively single one out. They can't talk to each other about it. They can only signal each other with tail movements and head movements and ear and eye and subtle body language. The markings under the eyes, the markings behind the ears. There is so much that they can signal to each other in the... Did you see his head pop out? The young male just popped his head out of the top of that quarry bush. He's shaking it like a buffalo. Here he comes. All bombastic. He's a youngster, but you can see how much bigger his head is than those ladies, one of whom is his mother. He's listening to me and licking his lips. Hello, little boy. Starting to get cooler. Starting to get active. So during a hunt, it's all visual. And it's very subtle. They're facing Gari Dam. We're facing the other direction, by the way. My guess is that they might get up and start moving that way. Now if you look at those lines of the whisker spots on his face, you can see there's like 3 lines. The bottom line just above his lip, and then a middle line, and then a top line sort of coming from the corner of his nose. Now there are spots just above those 3 lines of whisker spots, and while it might be hard to recognize individuals from those 3 lines of whisker spots, there are those tiny little spots just above the top line of whisker spots that are unique to each animal. And it's those little spots that we try and identify individual lions or lionesses with. Obviously with lion it's different because they're males and they're far easier markers on them, especially the scars and nicks in their ears that they develop. But sometimes with young females and with younger lion, it's quite hard to to identify each individual. And when you get to spend enough time with them, as I have in some places elsewhere in Africa, where I get to see the same lion time and time and time again, at first you learn those whisker spot patterns so that you can identify them, and by doing that you start learning their individual characters and their individual personalities, and then you actually see their faces as completely different face to the other lion, that you actually don't need to look for those little subtle markers. You can actually see them because of who they've become in your mind as an individual cat, as opposed to just another member of the pride. It's easy here because he's the only young male, but when it comes to all those females, it takes time to start getting to know their individual characteristics, and we don't see them often enough to actually start learning their individual characters and personalities. I wish we did, not like we do with the leopards. Bless you, child. Lion sneeze too. The Orkney Islands. I don't think I've ever had a question from the Orkney Islands, or not that I know of. Hello, Liz. Welcome to our drives. Nice to hear from you. In the Orkney Islands. See, now I've got to go and find out where the Orkney Islands are. You'll excuse my failure to identify it geographically. When lioness give birth, do they go off on their own, or is it sort of a group affair type of thing? No, they do go off on their own, Liz. Kind of important that they do that. The rest of the pride obviously needs to move on and continue to hunt and do what they need to do. That's one of the adult females that's moving, and I'm wondering if she looked like she might have been lactating. She's going to scratch her, yeah, she's going to stretch. Okay, time to move a little bit. The pride's starting to get active. Come on, Wendy. Thank you. Move so we can see them. This is how it suddenly happens when it cools down. And oh, yeah. Hopefully they'll come through here. There we go. It looks like they're making their way to Gari Dam. One adult female, and that's one of the sub-adult females. Unfortunately we can't see them pulling down, like stretching and scratching bark on trees. Unfortunately we couldn't see that. And there's another mama cat. Little boy will be the last one to go, but bless you. My guess is they're going to the water. Angola's starting to move now. Negative, they're heading down towards Gari Dam. One of the 6-7 month old cubs moving past the young male, and there's another little one toileting. Two of the youngsters. So we've had two females, one sub-adult, two sub-adults, and two cubs. Who's next? to get an idea of who's here and who's not. So 3, this is 6. 2, 2 and 2. Still a couple sleeping behind the trees. They haven't even got up yet. Andrew, come in. Andrew, come in. Golly gosh. Tiago? Sorry, which endow? Oh, copy. I thought he said Djuma Dam. Ah, okay, not Vuyatella. Okay, copy, thanks. Sorry, I just heard Djuma Dam. Oh, there's some localizing. Wild dog. Bush bright to Djuma Dam, and well, I thought it was on quarantine, but it's not. It's the other Djuma Dam on Cheetah Plains, in front of the lodge at Cheetah Plains. Sorry, Andrew NFC, if I confused you. Andrew Guide I was talking to on the other channel. Waiting for this other lioness to come by, and then we can turn around and we can try and follow them. But of course, we've got a very classic example here of the cubs that have settled down. The sub-adult and the lionesses they've moved on ahead, which is kind of an important thing. Because the cubs staying behind means that the adult, that little vocalization that I got earlier, that little was to tell these cubs to stay put, because the females want to go off and see if they're going to bump into something to hunt. Here comes another one of the adults. So we've got, and it looks like she's been lactating. So all adults here, this big old girl here now. So if anything, I'd say maybe it's one of the very young cubs that's missing. Wait, what is the count now? 7 or 8? 2, 2, 2. There's 8. I don't know. I'm confused. Don't know if there are any more lying there. But anyway, time to turn around. Time to try and keep track of them and follow them, because I think they might be going to the dam. They might be going to drink, and maybe that they'll do that before we have to say goodbye to you. But always a chance that we can just stay live for a little bit longer. Huh? Okay, so let's try this tap then. We're not going to turn around here. Yeah, I want to do it. I'm glad they're moving now. It's getting dark and it's going to get quite awkward to try and get out of here. 15 minutes? No, I don't care. We're following cats right now. We've been sitting here waiting for them to wake up. Now they've woken up. We are going to try and stay with them for a bit. Oh. Yeah, let's just move 20 feet and then lie down again. And well, we can't go anywhere because they are sitting right there where we need to. No, that's other females. Yeah, they're just all lying down again. Time they're waiting for an opportunity to strike. everything has changed. All of a sudden you can see the concentration in the lack of movement of ears. Oh, now they're moving again, but subtle signals that are given throughout the pride to stop and listen and wait. Thank you, Cheryl. If there is a total of 9, then whichever lioness or whoever it was that those other lion have killed, not one of them. I was trying to count, but I kind of lost track. Quite magic. I'm not going to lose track of them entirely. I'm just coming down into this drainage line because I have a feeling whatever they're looking at might be moving down here, so not seeing anything down here. But we've got a very sharp bend of the river, and it goes around here, and then it does another bend going around, a very sharp bend, and looks like we need to go around the bend to catch up with them because they're starting to move again. I'm not going to put on lights just yet because if there is something around here, hi MJ in Texas. Thanks for the info, there's a lot of info there on about there they're going, they're crossing this drainage line now. They might be going to a little water cargo camp. MJ, thanks for the info. I can't really relate to that, but just saying that TB can possibly produce those sort of lesions or those sort of lumps. Now down to sand, unless they've got water down here or just crossing the drainage line. Yeah, they're going back up. I think they're going back up to that water hole in front of Gallagher Camp where they were found this morning. So I'll find my way out of here and we'll hopefully catch up with them when they get out. Aubrey, come in. Where are you now? Okay, guys are coming back to Gallagher clearing. Okay, copy, thanks. Can I land them to the clearing? Thanks. I don't know how long it's going to take them to get out there, but they are making their way back towards Gallagher camp, and the little waterhole that is there, little man-made waterhole. It's going to be very interesting in the morning because we're going to be able to drive around and try and find, there's a stick underneath, try and find where they went to this evening. Because from here they're going to, from here wherever they go, we'll find their tracks on a road somewhere around the dam, or if it was a cut line or something. Could be they're going to be heading a little bit further south. Interesting that if there are all 9 of them here, who it is that those other males might have killed. So I know we've only got a few minutes left, but I think we might just have to. Oh, there's buffalo here. Oh, we're going to have to just be a little bit patient here, because I wouldn't like to have to miss something. A bunch of buffalo, I'm not going to shine on them. There's the waterhole, and these cats are heading this way, and there are certainly enough of them. I know we've only got a few minutes left. I'm just going to go further up the road this way, and then we're going to turn around and come back. And it could very well be that that's what they've been hearing. Formidable foe for all these cats to take down an adult bull buffalo, but it's not impossible. There are enough of them. I've seen 2 adult lionesses. I've seen 1 lion do it on his own. I'll just find a place to turn around and we can go back there. I want to just spend a few more minutes. I know we're supposed to say goodnight, but we're in a unique situation here where we've got cats that are on the move and heading towards this little waterhole. This is a man-made waterhole, a little clearing just in front of the camp, the Gallagher camp. Self-catering camp here at Djuma. Beautiful little accommodation where you can rent it out for the whole family, and one of the guides here at Djuma will take you out in a specialized vehicle. We'll move our lights. And all I need is to find out where these one of these cats are in proximity to these buffalo. Buffalo just here to the right, not doing anything. A couple of them are lying down. So, do you want to try and pick up those eyes? Oh, you've got to be sort of the. There's a buffalo. Okay, can't shine on him for too long. Much the same way as if the lions start coming this way, I'm not going to be able to shine on them much either. So the other option is that we're just going to have to leave it be.
Just there.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. So, time to just sit and wait and see what happens in this scenario. There's one going straight towards the buffalo. Can't really put my light on it. The buffalo will see it will destroy the whole thing. Okay, so the cats have got here already. Bless you, cat. No good sneezing. But I don't think they're in hunt. Not I don't think they're definitely not in hunt mode. I don't think they've seen these buffalo yet. In fact, they're just making their way to the water. It's going to be quite interesting as we're here with them. They're going to be drinking, and then there's a group of Duggar boys just at the back of an area. Ah, she's just seen them. There she is next to us. And I think she's just seen them. I think they've also just stampeded away. I just heard something. It's impala alarming up in the open area. Should have brought my infrared light. I mean, infrared scope. Could take an hour. I could go straight into a hunt and do something now. Yeah, there you go. Something's happening. I'm seeing cats moving at quite a fast rate now. Probably very difficult for you to see this, and I'm sorry that it looks so dark, but it is imperative that we don't have any lights on right now. I think they're heading straight for the water. I think they're not really that concerned with the buffalo, so we'll be able to just wait until they're all here and drinking, because it looks like maybe that's what they're doing. 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Okay, they're drinking. I don't think they're going for buffalo right now. They might do something later, but for now we're going to be able to just put a little bit of light on them and watch this entire pride drink some water. So quite amazing actually to be able to watch. Just bouncing some light off of the water. Quite thirsty. Cat's been a hot day. He's quite skinny. Looking quite skinny. Definitely need something like a buffalo right now, and they are heading in that direction. Mark here. Okay, copy, thanks. I'm just with Nkuhuma, close to the lodge. So, confirm you don't know who those Ngala are? A couple of other lions crossing over the boundary. I think an entirely different scenario took place last night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Couple missing. I think they're going to make a play for these buffalo, probably. But we're going to need to leave them be, because we can't use lights and the camera's too dark without it. So there's a good chance we might hear what goes down, because we don't live far from here. In fact, I'd say it's less than 200 yards from here that we're going to bed tonight. And they're heading straight towards quarantine. Quite possibly, in fact, by the time we get out of here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are a couple of them that have gone further up ahead. Mark, you go. As far as I know, that they were up east of Sydney's Dan, and they had an Ngala bumper. A young lioness from where? Okay, I'm with them at the moment, and I still haven't seen them all together, but I thought we had 9 there at 1 minute. Okay, copied. I need confirmation, because we had them all booked. Did we have 8 or did we have 9? Because there's still talk about that cat that's been eaten by those lions, and that is one of this lot. Okay. Yeah, I still think I only saw 8. And I think it is one of them that's gone. The problem is there has been that other lioness that's been up on, sorry frog, on first rock, second rock, that they thought had cubs. What an evening! What I mean, you see, this is how patience pays out or pans out. You've got to understand that there are energy dynamics involved here. On a hot summer's day, these cats can't just go walking around willy-nilly and using up energy that they need for a hunt. They're actually pacing after some buffalo right now, and there's a very good chance that tonight we might hear something, that we wake up in the morning to find them eating one of those buffalo. Good chance that may happen. Of course, oh, sorry, got to remember that tree stumps, hidden tree stumps on this road. Hit one of them this morning. So there are 2 nomad male lions going towards Sydney's Ham from Simbabili. Interesting. I'm leaving Nkuhuma's. I think there are only 8 of them here. I hope you've been as patient as we have. I hope you've enjoyed the afternoon. Thank you very much to all of you who have participated in our drive this afternoon. the whole very thing about the drive is this participation, this ability that we have to communicate with you, for you to ask questions, for us to be able to interact the way that we do. What makes it so different to just having a documentary or something. We're live, we're here in Africa, and we will be back again tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock Central African time. My name is Mark. Brian has been on camera, and Andrew has been in final control, and there has been a ninja thumb that has popped up from time to time this afternoon. I love you lots. Thanks for joining us. All of us at Wild Earth, thank you. And, well, I suppose, you know, you might as well just stay with us till we get home. We're almost there. It's going to be a while for those cats to find their way out onto the open area. But who knows, maybe by the time we get there, because we've got a roundabout route to do so. A couple of minutes late, might as well be a couple of minutes more. Thank you for joining us, though. It has been a pleasure. I love sharing this world with you. I love it that you can ask questions, and please continue to do so. If you're too shy about it, you can just say anonymous. You can make up a name. You don't even have to say your name. Although it'd be nice. It's nice to know who I'm talking to. It's also nice to know where you are on the planet, because I get a picture in my mind of different countries and things. The time zone that you're in, you know, it makes a difference. If you tell me where you're emailing from, I can get the idea that it's 2 o'clock in the morning for you, or if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, it makes a difference. Helps me get to know you better. I'm an open book. You can ask me anything, and well, within reason. Got to fix this light switch. It's burnt out. But we got LEDs in its place. See, now they should be coming right past camp right now. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised. We're going to have to go and pick up Andrew, because I don't think it's wise for him to walk home now after FC. We're going to pick up Andrew. So good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow morning, and we'll continue this wonderful journey in the morning. Hello, Scops Al. That might be my baby Scops that I raised 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 years ago. Oh, that's vehicles. Wait a sec, before we finish. Impala and wildebeest are up there. But I just want to see, there's a vehicle that is stopped here. I just want to see, just quickly. Oh, I don't have to pick Andrew up, he's got his car. So maybe those cats are going to come in through here. They'll be coming down into camp. The cats are close. In fact, we're going to probably hear them breathing. Sunday. Where? Okay, I want to show you something just quickly, just quickly, because we're still live, we're late. What, you know, it's like sometimes it's kind of a case of look, you see this fence? This was an elephant. This is a fence that's sort of around our parking area at our camp, and elephant kind of wanted to look over. I think what it is if you had to look through this little gap of the fence, you can see there's my Land Rover. It's just parked behind there. There's my Landy. I think this elephant saw the Landy, wanted to say hello. But this is our parking lot. I'm coming down here because I've got a very strong feeling that these cats are going to be coming out here any minute. That's Brian's car down there, and This is our camp, Djuma research camp. There's Jigger, undercover, and Mark's landy. Of course, I'm here to show you my landy, but there's Jigger. Anyways, I've got to go to the bottom, turn around. Maybe I'm going to turn around here. But I just can't stop because these cats are coming this way. They're not far, and they're going to be here any minute. So it's hard to say goodbye because I just want to wait until I can see them pop out of this woodwork on the edge of camp where we are now. They're probably going to make their way onto quarantine. And there are wildebeest up there. And there are impala. I don't know if they'll go for impala, but wildebeest they haven't moved yet. They're just going to do one quick little loop around the edge of quarantine and see if they're coming through the woodwork. But we're going to have to say goodbye, I suppose. And the first thing we're going to do in the morning is look on this road for tracks to see where they came out and where they went and what transpired during the night. We might be lucky to hear some things, but well, you know what it's like? It's like when the movie ends or when time's up on your fairground ride, or unfortunately that's just what it is. Time's up. Much as I hate to admit it, time's up. Had a lovely afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us here at Wild Earth. I hope you're going to join us again. I hope you're going to be part of our regular viewership. For those of you who might have just joined, and for all of you who are part of us every day, well, thanks. You're part of the family, and hope to see you tomorrow. Love you lots. Bye everybody.